About a year ago, we had the idea to put together our thinking and observations on the Africa cross-border space. We had made an investment at the time in Cauridor, and it was also a space that we had been looking into intently before that. And we just thought it would be very great to have other people within the ecosystem join the conversation. Other people, including founders, other investors, prospective founders, regulators. And we thought the best way to do that would be to put together our thoughts, share it, and have conversations like this. So far, we have enjoyed the feedback that we've gotten from other people within the ecosystem. And we're very, very happy to have Abdoulaye today and also Victor to speak about their experiences and just so we can learn more about the cross-border payment space. I think to kick off, we would have Abdoulaye and Victor introduce themselves and also their companies and just speak a bit about that. I think we'll start with Victor, if you will.
Thanks, Dr. My name is Victor Alade, co-founder and CEO at Raenest. And at Raenest, we are connecting Africans to global banking system by allowing people from Africa, either from Lagos, Kenya, or wherever, to be able to open foreign bank accounts in your name, meaning you can open a US bank account, UK bank account, and European bank account in your name, for you to be able to receive faster, for you to be able to spend, and also for you to be able to save. We are removing the barriers that is preventing Africans from participating in the global economy, and we've been doing this for over 3 years. Before Raenest, my life has been around software development and product management. I was part of the team that built the payment aspect of Jumia Pay. Spent some time at Andela to start their global sales force screening and recruitment before joining Akumen Fund as engineering manager. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, OK. And thank you for inviting me to be part of this conversation. And I've been looking forward to having this discussion. I'm Abdoulaye Bah. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Cauridor. Just to introduce Cauridor, we are a cross-border payment platform, and we enable international money transfer companies and financial institutions and fintechs to pay directly into mobile wallets and bank accounts. And we have integrated all the continent's major mobile wallet operators and banks into our platform. And the leading IMTOs, the international money transfer operators, they use our solution to pay their customers instantly into their digital wallets or bank accounts. And before Cauridor, I was involved also with BNB Transfer that we spinned off to create Cauridor, and that's a remittance company. And I was also the co-founder of that company. So really, I've been with this industry since 2014, and I've witnessed really the transformation. And I know during this discussion here, we'll be talking a lot about the transformation that we are witnessing right now, and also what is coming into the future.
Thank you very much for that introduction. So Victor, I'd like to ask, when you decided to start Raenest, what were the gaps that you saw that made Raenest a no-brainer?
Thanks so much for the wonderful question. Before Raenest, like I mentioned earlier, I've always been a remote worker based in Lagos, but working with companies in US, UK. Majority of my career has been as a remote worker, which is something I enjoy. But I face a major challenge. Working remotely is good, but getting paid was actually more challenging than the work itself. Because every month, every week, I have to send invoice to my employer. If there is delay in sending the invoice, my payment will be automatically delayed. When they have the invoice, they have to take it to their accounting software, and now they have to do international wire transfer to my local bank account in Nigeria. There are many times they have to process that payment twice before I finally receive it. And it takes between 2 to 5 business days for me to receive my salary. And whenever I receive the salary, I realize that close to 15% of my salary has gone into the cross-border payment fee and the unfavorable exchange rates. While working with Andela, we had a Slack channel there, we call it Sell It. We have engineers from Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, and Nigeria. And everybody is complaining about the same thing. How can I get paid faster? My employer cannot pay into my Kenya bank account. My employer cannot pay into my Nigerian bank account. This made me realize I'm not the only one experiencing this problem. There are a lot of people experiencing this challenge. And at the point I applied to a company and everything went well, the main reason why I didn't get that job is because they were not sure of the reliable way to which they can pay into my accounts in Nigeria. The only options available is you have to create domiciliary bank accounts, which it can take days. The requirement is challenging. Then I remember that at the point I was using my friend's bank account in the United States to receive my salary. So my salary will go to his bank account, and then he will look for a way of sending that money to me in Nigeria, either using Western Union or the old ways of moving money around. I keep thinking on this problem. Why is nobody solving for this challenge? Focus is on Africa and diaspora sending money to their friends and family. Then I joined Akumen Fund. The same problem with different engineers I'm managing. And during COVID, before COVID, it was easy to like go to different banks, either GTB, Access Bank. You know how difficult it is when you want to get to some of these banks, especially on a busy day. But I can go inside, get the dollar out, and then go to the street to like look for the change to like change the money. But during COVID lockdown, getting to the bank was an issue. Exchanging money with abocus was an issue. And that's when I realized we need to solve this problem. And that's where Raenest's idea started from. And we provide a means for which remote workers, businesses that are based in Africa that are receiving foreign payments can get paid in minutes and not days. Can we reduce the fee associated with it and eliminate that barrier? That's the origin of Raenest. So it's a problem I experienced myself, and we started Raenest to solve this problem effectively.
Thank you for that. I would love to double click on some things that you've said, but I think it would also be nice for the audience to also hear from Abdoulaye the problems that you saw that made creating BNB and then Cauridor very important.
Yes, and I think it's very similar to what Victor was explaining. We created this company, we founded it because of experiences and difficulties that we were facing ourselves. Because my co-founder and I, we lived both in Toronto at that time. We came to Canada as international students, and after graduating, we started, we landed jobs, and at some point, we could afford sending money to our family and friends overseas, but it was a real struggle. It was a real struggle. I remember, when I needed to send money to my mom, I had to call a lady who was in Toronto that got introduced to me through friends, and she would instruct me to deposit money into her bank account, her personal bank account, and she would reach out to someone who's in Montreal that would process the transaction and eventually give me the pickup code. I called my mom over the phone to give it to her, and she would struggle days and days, back and forth before she can receive the money, right? And through that experience, I discussed it with my co-founder because he was facing the same problem, and decided this is not acceptable. It should not be that hard, and that's what motivated us into solving the problem, because this was a problem that we facing not only us, our friends, and family members. So that what led us to create this company and solve that problem for ourselves from at the beginning, similar to what Victor was explaining here. And then today I can say, I can use the mobile app that we developed for consumers in Canada and send money instantly, and my mom will receive it, with a blink of an eye, within the blink of an eye. So that's a problem we tackled and we solved it. But then while we're solving it, we built businesses around it. There was a BNB transfer, and then it became Cauridor. so that's really the motivation, and that's where the mission, originated from, and we're still on the same journey because the problem is not fully resolved. It's there's a big gap that needs to be closed between what we see here in the countries, in our countries, from what we see in Western countries. So there's a lot to do. We're still tackling those problems.
But thank you so much for sharing those stories with us, Victor and Abdoulaye. I think is a great way to set the foundation for this conversation, because it's really about how how that problem came to be, and then how you basically approaching solving it. But then looking back to the problem and how you got to building around the problem, I think a question that I have is, what would you say, and this is for both Victor and Abdoulaye, what would you say was most painful for you as a user? Was it the lack of access, or was it the cost? Yes, was it access, infrastructure, or cost? Yes.
So really, there are two things there, already. So first of all, there was the cost, because we had these traditional solutions with Western Union and MoneyGram agents where you could go and do your transfer. But once you do it, it will be very expensive, on the exchange rates and also on the transfer fees. This was in the early, 2010, 2015. So there was the cost there, and also at the same time, when you process the transaction, the person on the other end to receive it, they had to go and find a MoneyGram location to withdraw the funds. And most of the time, you can go to a location and they would not have the money to pay you. So you have to come back, or sometimes you go to a location and you see like long lines of people standing trying to get their money. I think probably some of us have witnessed this, at month end or beginning of the month, when you see many people lining. So there was really struggle access to collect the funds on the other side, but also the cost when you send in the transaction from overseas. So yeah, so both were obstacles and problems that had to be addressed from both ends.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor. How about you?
Yeah, so for me, it's mainly about the access, and that kind of shape our mission at Raenest. Lack of access, lack of control over your money movement. Cost is part of it, but it was not mainly cost. Because looking at it back then, probably only few platforms allow you to be based in Africa, and then you have access to global bank accounts, meaning you have a USD account even without a visa, you have a UK bank account even without a passport. And the fact that I have to use a foreign bank account to receive salary, so there is a barrier, access challenge, and lack of control and feasibility into money movement. If I'm expecting a money, I don't have an idea of when I'm going to receive that money. I don't have an idea when that money is available, or how can I move the money. So lack of access, lack of feasibility, and that's why we started Raenest with a mission to put Africans in control of their finance wherever their journey takes them to. There's also the trust aspect with using third party to receive money, or using middle people to receive your payment. So trust, lack of access, and then lack of feasibility and control.
Okay, great perspective. Thank you so much. Now I see that, what we have here is that both you, Victor, and Abdoulaye are in the same industry, but then you're in different geographies and at different points of the value chain. So would you say that this affects the problems that you see and the new players that you see within these particular sub-verticals that you're working in? And if yes, how does this affect the way that you're addressing these problems? No problem. So I was saying that both you and Victor are solving problems in the same industry, but then you're in different geographies and at different points of the value chain as well. So I'm saying that how does this affect the problems that you see and the new players that you see within these subverticals that you're operating in? Were you able to get that, Abdoulaye?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so really on from what I see here on our business model or the industry where we operate, so we are dealing right now with on the Cauridor side more with businesses that are using our platform to do the termination into mobile wallet accounts, right? So the way I see it is on our side we have to connect payers and expand our footprint to make sure that we have a wider reach, right, within the continent. And then on the other side, we have to connect the IMTOs that are serving, the end user and the consumers that are sending the transactions from overseas. And so the way this operates now is somebody sending from a mobile app in the US, by himself, and then someone else is receiving the money instantly into the mobile money account in let's say in Senegal, for example, right? So now we see this happening instantly. So I think this is different from what Victor is addressing, where he's dealing with end users having bank accounts and receiving payments from businesses.
How about you, Victor? What's your perspective?
So when it comes to payments, I think there is a lot of partnership that have to happen, regardless of the sector you are solving for. You have to connect either with a bank, either with another fintech. There's always partnerships and payment problem. There is always similarity. At Raenest, we have two verticals. We have the B2B where we work with businesses, and then we have the B2C where we focus on consumer. I will give you a small story on how related they are. When we started Raenest, we focus more on freelancers, giving them bank accounts and working effectively. At the point we noticed that businesses are signing up on our platform as freelancers because they need foreign bank account as well to like receive payment. What that means is the challenge that an individual, a consumer is going through, businesses are also facing the same challenge. Either you're a startup based in Africa that you need to raise funds, or you're a business that is selling to the diaspora market, you need to receive payment. So we've seen similar challenges. Where are differences when it comes to payment volume and then payment cost customization. For an individual might not be bothered if they initialize a payment to a third party and the sender is not showing them as the sender. Well, probably is showing the fintech app name. But for a business, if I'm sending money for a business purpose, I need the name to appear as my business name. Those are some of the differences we've seen, and that's why we have to structure our solution to put you in control. It's not just about moving money. You're having a bank account. And when you move money, the money is coming from that bank account. That bank account is in your name. So when you send money, you are showing as the sender. You are in control of the time you want to send it, how much you want to send, the network to which you want the payment to go to. If I'm sending money to US, I can determine maybe I want to send it either through ACH or wire. Fees varied, speed varied as well. So businesses like to have more control on how money is being moved compared to a consumer that just want their money to move from point A to point B or receive their money as fast as possible.
So the next thing I wanted to cover, now we've set the foundation and talked about the problems. So basically looking at the past, how it was done in the past. But now to zooming into the present, I think the first question will be, what's working well right now in terms of cost, in terms of speed, in terms of access, and for who is this even working well for? Is it just the consumers? Is it businesses?
Because I've been witnessing this transformation. Because when we started back in 2014, everything was, cash. Somebody going to an agent location, paying in cash, and the recipient we receive cash, collect cash here at the payout country. But now we're witnessing really the transformation of this at the cross-border industry, and the digital payments are really advancing very rapidly, and we can notice this on our transaction trends. And I think last month we on our platform we processed more than 50% of our transactions were digitally paid, and that was the first time that we reached that level. And then we see this accelerating probably by the end of this year. You can cross over 60%. And so so right now is really the transformation. And platform like Cauridor, our platform are playing central roles in this transformation, because it is only possible because by interconnecting all the different pieces that are very fragmented in this ecosystem to enable digital payment, because we have end users have different there's different mobile wallet operators in each country, and there's also different multiple bank accounts that are operating, and fintechs that are offering solutions in each country. And the transformation is possible by having platform like us, like ours, that connects all of these different pieces, so that someone who's sending payments into the continent, he can just use one single connection and reach all these different players, right? Otherwise, they will have to do it in, it's almost impossible to connect all of these, by individually to be able to pay. So really, like right now, it's this transformation, and it's really and it's working well. The question if it's working well, I think it's working well for the end user right now, and then down the road would be solving the problem also for businesses. I think Victor was mentioning this, because we have a lot of businesses that are also operating that are facing the same challenges, but most of the solutions that we see right now are really focused on the end user. But I think more and more, we're becoming aware of businesses, because businesses are also using this solution that is tailored for the end user to solve their own problems. So really, that's what I was saying, and this transformation is even changing the dynamic of what we see in the money transfer, because what we had before was people sending average transaction, high value transaction in average over $200,000. Because of all the friction, you have to go to an agent to send your money, and the person who's receiving has to go and get the money. So you have to make sure that when you're sending, it's something that is high enough to go through all this headache. But now with the digitalization, we see really something changing, where people are sending small amount. We are doing some analysis on our transaction. We see a lot of transactions that are even now under $20 value, because someone who needs to pay, for example, for his groceries, you can send them $20, and they can go do the groceries, because they will receive it right away into the mobile money account. So really, the nature right now, we're living through the transformation of the industry, where things are more dynamic and more instant and more real time.
Yeah, thanks. So the way money move has changed significantly over the past few years. I think we've moved from an era where everything is more of like cash. Movement is by cash. You have to carry the cash, go to a shop, give them the cash before you can actually move money. Nowadays, from the comfort of your home, just from your mobile phone, you can move money around the world. And because of that changes, we're not seeing many solutions, many players, unlike before, where you can only have maybe 5 or 6 companies doing money remittance. The most reliable option is the bank. But now there are a lot of fintechs, a lot of remittance apps that introduce competitions. When there's competitions, there's need for reliability, because you need to compete effectively. So there has been increase in reliability when it comes to money movement, due to fintechs in operation, mobile money wallets as well. I think when it comes to fee and pricing as well, there has been reduction. it's not that expensive the way it used to be due to the competition as well, due to new technology. And then fintechs is bridging the gap between the traditional banks, where fintech is making movement of money easier. Before, if you have to send money from Nigeria to Kenya, you have to go to the bank. The money you are sending in Naira will have to be converted to dollar. That money will be converted to dollar or pounds, and the money will have to go to either US or UK with the corresponding bank. And then from US, the money will now have to go back to Kenya. And this is a payment within Africa. Because there's like double conversion, Naira to USD, USD to Kenya shillings. There are like 3 or 4 banks involved. It's lower because it has to go through the SWIFT network. It's expensive. Each of these banks, they have their own fee. But fintech nowadays, for instance, on Raenest, you can send money from Nigeria to Kenya and you get it in under 1 minute. And that's because the money doesn't have to go to the US before it can get to Kenya. That's where fintech is coming in, bringing together different banks, different wallets, different currency to ensure money can move faster and also reduce the fee associated with it. There's also more feasibility into money movements now. If you send money to a bank, most of the time, we don't know when it has gotten to corresponding bank A, when it has gotten to the end user. But nowadays, you can see that your payment has moved from your bank account and it's actually in the beneficiary bank today. So we've seen increase in feasibility, speed of money movements as well. And then trust is improving when it comes to money movements, not only in Africa, but globally. These are the changes we've seen compared to when it all started, where everything is very manual.
Just to add on that, also a change that we notice is on the system itself, because the way the payment, the cross-border was structured before, we had so many layers and middlemen. And I think that also contributed to the fact that it was very expensive. As an example, because you have a sending agent that you have to visit. Usually when you go to a MoneyGram location, that agent is also paid the commission, right? And so you have the sending agent, you have the licensed money transfer company that is processing the transaction. And also you have a payer on the other side who has the distribution network. And at the end of that network, there's also a payout agent who will hand the money. So all these different middlemen that are part of one transaction will also get will have to make revenue. And the revenue that they're making is by splitting the fee that is paid by the sending customer. So all this contributed to the high cost that we were seeing in the past. And with the digitalization that we see now, so there's some middlemen that have disappeared in the picture, because now somebody who's sending will do the transaction by themselves. So the sending agent is almost it's not needed. And also the receiver receives it directly to the bank account. That also removes the payout agent. So just with that improvement, we can see the cost being lowered, because the revenue doesn't need to those two parties that have disappeared no longer have to split the revenue. So we see a trend in cost reduction, right? And this is all due to this transformation that we're witnessing. And I think this is going to continue, and many layers will. There's some layers that will disappear, because on top of this, we also have the banks that are involved. And once the banks are involved, there's also fees there, because money. We need to settle the balances between the different entities, and this will involve wiring money to the SWIFT, the SWIFT network. And there is also some cost there with banking, intermediate bankers, and all that. Okay, so just wanted to add that on top of what we're seeing right now on the transformation.
Thank you so much, Abdoulaye. I think that was a really good add, and this is part of why we're seeing that the landscape is evolving, and everybody's getting happier, because we're reducing the barriers and just making it easy for people to be able to move money easily, faster, and without any issues. But now I think I want to move the conversation a little bit to the structural and policy side. We do have a lot of questions coming in. Once we're close to the end of the conversation, we'll get to answering them. So on the structural and policy side, the question that I have for you both is, what structural or policy shifts would unlock the next phase of cross-border payments innovation in Africa? So now we've looked at the past, we've looked at the present, but now we're looking, we're looking forward and just looking ahead. So what structural or policy shifts do you think would unlock the next phase of cross-border payments innovation in Africa? Victor, do you want to go next? Okay.
So in Africa, we're referring to money movement within Africa, right? In the African money movement.
Yes, I guess we can do within and outside of Africa as well.
Yeah, I'll start within Africa because that's the major challenge.
Yes.
No, major of the challenge we have in Africa. One is different currencies. Right? There are many countries in Africa. Kenyan shillings, Ghana cedis, Nigerian naira, Egyptian pound, different currencies. So when it comes to moving money within Africa, there is always a lot of conversions that need to happen. And conversion from one currency in Africa to another currency in Africa is not always straightforward. There is always need most of the time to go through a base currency, which is most of the time dollar. So when you are converting naira to Ghana cedis, you are first of all converting to dollar before you convert to Ghana cedis. So one of the improvements that need to happen, we need a way to be able to convert money within Africa currency without having converting to dollar or pounds. Either we have a unified currency, or maybe stable coin can come in. We can have African coin that will make that possible. That's one of the major improvements we need. Then when it comes to the compliance aspect and the regulatory aspect, unlike in Europe where there is one single currency where you can move money from one European country to another without any conversion. You can also get a license in one European country and it will allow you to operate through the entire Europe. It's not like that in Africa. You need to get licensed in Nigeria. You need to get licensed in Rwanda. You need to get licensed in Egypt. Some of these countries, they have some requirement that could be challenging. Some will tell you that 40% or 30% of the company must be owned by a citizen of that new country, right? You have to go through different regulatory challenges. So it makes it difficult to move money across Africa, and it's also affecting inter-African trade. I think we are getting there. Ghana and Rwanda, they are working on a joint license. I think there is need for a joint license, either across Africa or different region, West Africa, East Africa. This will make life easier and it will aid cross-border money movements within Africa. From Africa to outside Africa, from outside Africa to Africa, I think that has been functioning effectively. What are the major challenges with that and what can be improved? Today, Africa is still being seen as high-risk region. For someone like us where we are not just moving money, but we're giving you a bank account, it's always an headache sometimes trying to get different banks in different parts of the world to be comfortable with working with Africa. One, there is no single database where you can actually trace different set of people in Africa. There is no single database or a joint fraud record that will make it easier to screen a user and know if they have any fraud record. More collaboration within fintechs and banks in Africa to fight fraud, either identity fraud, financial fraud, would make it easier to move money, not just within Africa, but sending money from Africa to other part of the world and from other part of the world to Africa. These three things, if we can find an effective solution to it, moving money will be faster and it will also be cheaper. Because when you are serving Africa today, whoever you are working with, they are looking at the risk of the region you are serving. Based on that risk, they will give you pricing. Their fee will be based on the risk. And that is contributing to the expensive fee when it comes to money movement.
It's really on the same lines here. When it comes to intra-Africa, we see a lot of challenges to move money. You mentioned need to convert money into one of the hard currencies, USD, euros. So that is making the cost extremely high for end users. So what we need is more collaboration between the countries, because Africa is very, very fragmented, and usually we see also tendencies to make sending money outside of the country a little bit harder than receiving the money. Experiencing cases in the in the UMA zone where we operate, it's almost impossible to. It's actually it's very hard, because we have partners that are trying to get approval from the central bank to send money from the UMA zone into other countries outside the UMA zone, and it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to get the approval. But we completed integrations for this solution, and we were only able to go live to do within the UMA zone. So going outside of the UMA zone, we still haven't received the approval for that. So this is like a barrier that we need to overcome in order to allow seamless and frictionless money movement. Because like all these barriers that we see are contributing to the fact where we have some informal solutions that are almost everywhere, where you see people traveling with money, or they do it using back channels. So we need support from regulators, and also to have clear regulation to support innovation, especially around the new technologies that we see. Because in Africa here we can come up with our solutions that are tailored to the problems that we are facing, because we face unique challenges, and we can solve them by innovating. And this innovation will happen if we have regulators that are also open-minded and that are willing to let African talents to come up with solutions that are not traditional, right? The traditional solution that we see most of the time are coming from what's happening in the Western world. But I think in Africa here, we can come up with our own solutions that will be tackling our own problems, similar to what we did with the mobile money. And having regulation that will allow this, and having regulators that are open-minded, will be key to achieve this.
I want us to get into answering some of the questions so we don't go past the hour. So the first question, I think this question is both for you, Abdoulaye, and for Victor. I'll read the first one for Abdoulaye. It says, how were you able to build an effective agent network system in your region, considering that trust is a major problem with agents? Abdoulaye, do you want to answer that now?
Yeah, that was it's a great question here, because it was really challenging to do. Because when we started sending, because we started as a remittance company from Canada, sending money to Guinea. That was our main corridor, Guinea and Sierra Leone. But as soon as we started, we were facing the issue with distribution. There was no distribution network, and then we pivoted and decided to focus on the receiving countries, and to come and build a retail network of agents. So initially, when we come in these markets where you are a new player, and everybody knows the big guys, the MoneyGrams and the Western Unions. So really, we started by opening our own branches. So that's how we started, by opening our own branches, because we had to serve the customers that were using our service from Canada. So we started by opening our own branches. So with that, we had the idea to, because we wanted to cover the whole country, and we cannot afford to open locations in all, in everywhere, in all the regions. So we decided to recruit agents. So recruiting the agents was not an easy task. Initially, because of the reputation, because we were new, we had to pre-fund some of the agents, meaning we have to give them funds in order for them to pay for us, and we pay them back. But that turned out to be not a very good idea. But we learned from our mistakes. But then as time goes by, we build a reputation, and we build solutions and trust with these agent networks. It all comes from trust. Being regularly paying the agents back on time, and also visiting them regularly. So really, that was it was a groundwork, Ore. So we had to be there, visiting the agents, working closely with them, building trust with them, and being very close. So we had to spend a lot of time in these countries, and also show them exactly what we do differently through our platform, and then offer them ways that they can even make more money using by being our agents, and using our platform to conduct their transactions. So it's really by creating value, and then being able to communicate this clearly by visiting the agents in person. So it was really a groundwork, and it took some time. It took us years, but at some point we reach a certain scale and brand recognition where it becomes a little bit easier, and you have agents even reaching out to you at that point that are that want to become onboarded onto our platform. So that's how we managed to get close to 10,000 agent location now in this region, and it's still growing. And our plan is to build more services on our platform that will allow the agents to even do more business. For example, to be able to do mobile money, cash in, cash out, and to even do agency banking for some of the local banks here, and do bill payments, and eventually being able to sell insurance. So there's many services, value-added services that we added onto the platform that is not only limited to the cross-border payment, that we allow them to maximize the revenue that they can make by using our platform.
And the question for Victor, considering that the virtual dollar account space is a plug-and-play space requiring numerous digital partnerships that affect profit margins, how do you manage to stay profitable?
All right, thanks for that question. Yeah, I think one of the things I would like to clarify is there is difference between virtual accounts and accounts, right? At Raenest, we issue both. For most of the accounts we issue, these are real checkings accounts and not virtual accounts. You have a real bank account with a card attached to it, and it can do anything. If you are to go to Chase Bank to open an account, what that account with Chase Bank can do is the account Raenest is giving you that it can do the same thing. So it's not just all about virtual accounts. And one of our core values at Raenest, we have something we call Raenest craft culture. Reliability is one of it. And we know that for us to have reliability and for us to be in existence for long, the idea is not to be the company that will be in existence for like 3 years. Right? And for us to continue to provide this service, we have to ensure we have connection to the source and not just rely on multiple partners. So one of the things we did at the early stage of Raenest was to have our own programs. One, our own card programs approved by MasterCard. Our own sponsor bank that is enabling us to issue bank accounts, meaning we are in direct communication with the bank, direct integration with the bank, without relying on any third-party payment provider or an API. Because of this, we can monetize effectively. We are in the entire fund flow. Because of these, our pricing can be far better than other because there is no middle up to like 3 fintechs. That helps us with our margin as well. And the bank account is just a means for you to receive. When you receive, the money will not just be sitting there. You have to spend. And that's where the Raenest card comes in. You have to transfer. And that's where our transfer to different countries across Africa, US, UK, and another part of the world comes in. And then when you spend with card as well, there's an interchange fee because we have our own card programs. So there are different revenue streams through which we can monetize. And on the payment aspect, right, Raenest is licensed in some key countries where we work. In Nigeria, we are a remittance company. It means we can connect directly with a bank in Nigeria and not directly go through another fintech. That helping reducing cost as well. It's also good to look into your unit economics effectively, meaning how much are you spending and how much are you making? How can you monetize effectively? It's also good to build a reliable product and not just try to compete on pricing level and solemnly relying on FX spread, which is a major challenge with remittance because that's the only place you have to rely on, and that margin can get tight whenever the FX currency or rates are changing.
Do you see other products apart from pure remittance plays emerging soon in cross-border payments or finance?
So I can go first here. So we have the traditional remittance that involves two individuals. Really, it's a sender who sends to a recipient. But we see in the future more where we have more businesses now that are also doing payments, because here we know in Africa we have a lot of small businesses. Sometimes they are not formally organized, but they need to move a lot of for their supply, to pay their suppliers. Sometimes in other countries, because we see like in countries like Nigeria, where we, people that are in other countries in West Africa, like Benin, they want to send money into Nigeria, but the remittance is not really designed to solve this problem, because of the thresholds and the limits that are in place do not allow to send such high volumes, and usually they face a problem where they reach a certain limit and they can no longer use the service, or they have to find another solution. So in the future, we have products that will be tailored for this type of users that are small businesses that are everywhere in Africa, because we see in these countries there are more small businesses or people working for themselves trying to make ends meet, more than people that have traditional salaries or that are sending money to families that are living cross-border. So there's a need there that there's a gap that needs to be filled to have the solution for those users, businesses, small businesses. And then the other aspect or the other side is for importers that are buying merchandise overseas, buy merchandise from Dubai and importing this into our countries, like in Dubai or China. So there's also a gap there to allow them to be able to move the money. So because right now they use the remittance solution to do this, that is not tailored, and they face the same issues. So those are product lines that are similar to the remittance, but little bit that are different because they are catering to a different segment of the market, and these different segments of the market are still struggling because there are not real solutions for them, and this is something that needs to be also resolved.
Yeah, just to add that there are actually solutions. We've seen solutions that it's not just pure remittance. For instance, we see ourselves as a cross-border money management platform, not a remittance platform, because what we are trying to achieve is giving a single platform, is a single product where you can have all your banking solution. You can have your Naira bank account. If you're from Ghana, you can have your Ghana bank account. You have your USD, you have your GBP. And account is not just to remittance. Even your normal day-to-day payments can happen. So we are seeing more, and I think we have couples of solutions too that are doing something similar, either for SMBs, either for freelancers, or for enterprise as well. I believe we'll continue to see more company playing that particular market, not just to move money, but where you can manage your money entirely. What we are trying to do is we want to put you in control of your money wherever you are. It means if your journey takes you to Nigeria, you're in control of your money. to manage your funds, to like make payment locally. If your journey is taking you to Ghana, you can do the same thing. If your journey is taking you out of the country to like US, you can make payment either through transfer, bank, or any other means. So we'll continue to see more people trying to solve cross-border money management, not just cross-border money movement.
How much startup capital for basically operational costs did you raise to launch, or how much do you think is just enough to get started? And how did you manage settlement time with your partners?
Interesting question. It depends. I think it depends on what you think you need, the resources, and then your ability and that of your co-founders. For us, we launched Raenest without raising any fund. It was after we have our product in market and little traction that we started raising proceed. So it depends on how much initial capital are you trying to inject, what's the level of skills you possess and that of your co-founders. I have engineering background, so there was no need to hire an engineer. My co-founder is a growth person and marketer, so there's no need to hire someone to like do growth for us or do marketing. So the initial development stage, we do that in-house. We're not paying anyone. Setting up of the company, incorporations, we use our fund to like do that. And when we realize there is need to raise funds is when there is need to go faster. We need to get more capable and so that we can build faster. And then we realize there is need to raise funds. So first, you need to know what's your capacity, what's the level of the MVP you are trying to build. So if you're trying to build a simple MVP to like get it to market, then you have less capital to like raise or to like start with. However, when it comes to partnership, if you're one of the challenges we face at the early stage, why we know we have to raise funds, if you're talking to some partners or some bank, one of the requirements would be either you must have raised at least $1 million or 500K. There was a bank we were talking to there, and their requirements happen to be 500,000 minimum fundraising. If you're in that kind of situation, then you have to raise funds. But there are ways you can go about it. Raenest here, we start by partnering with bank directly. You don't have to start out with that. Different ways. Either you work with maybe some banking as a service or other fintech to like start, but you have a plan to own your own program either in a year or 2 years. That will determine how much you will need. So it depends on how much you want. It depends on how you want to structure the company. What kind of company do you want to build? And then the skills that you and your co-founder possess. Those are the things that will determine. So it's difficult to like give, you need 20K, you need 30K, 40K. So you have to figure it out, what you want to do, what kind of partnership do you want to go for. If you have to go for a license for a start as well, you have to capitalize your license. Some will require you to put 200 million naira. So you need to put all this together to like determine how much is needed.
What is one word that you would use to describe the future of Africa's cross-border payment landscape?
So for me, the way I say this is, because we have to remember one of the pioneers of the money transfer business is Western Union. When back then they were a telegraph company, right? And then telegraph really back then was the most advanced technology to transmit information. So if you think about it at a high level, really this money transfer at its core, what it is, it's very similar. It's just transmitting information. The only thing is we have a lot of regulation around it and many rules, and also there's money involved that needs to be of value, a lot of value involved for each transmission. So it's a variation of the same concept. So my prediction is really in the future is where we have this industry to evolve, where it will resemble more and more to the internet, where we can transmit payments instantly the way we send an email. And then this will be enabled by some platforms like ours here that we're building at Cauridor. And then these platforms will be playing central roles where everything will be interconnected, similar to what we see right now in the internet with major companies like Google or Facebook. or WhatsApp, right? So really, down the road, 5-10 years from now, money transfer should be really instant and happening in real time with less and less friction, where we do it without even thinking about it.
Unification. I believe we will get to a level where there will be unification across money movements across Africa. And with that, payments within Africa can be faster than what we are seeing today. If you look at it, money movement within Nigeria is already instant. Ghana, instant. Kenya, instant. Almost all African countries, they have instant payment. If we can unify this together, the money movement within Africa can be as simple as ABC. It can be faster, and it will be easier to trace and track fraud as well across movements within Africa. So this is encouraging more businesses, more fintechs. The banks as well need to be ready to partner with fintechs. Only when we work together, we can unify payments and make payment cheaper, and we can make it happen faster. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Abdoulaye, how about you? Any final words?
Yeah, thank you very much for this discussion today. And so what we're looking forward is to see Africa where we do cross-border payments without thinking about the borders. It is a lot of borders in Africa, many small countries with small economies, but the future will be a place where everything is interconnected and seamless, and where we will have innovative solutions, right, that are specifically designed to solve the problems of our continent and see less cash, so that we can unlock the potential and empower our economies.